Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. 7 days to go. Set your alarm clocks. I've got a feeling this season's going to be special. We're going to run through a quick predictions of what's going on. And I want to ask Anthony, Drive to Survive is still relevant. Anyway, here is the ever-relevant VFL. Let's go.
Yes, hello, welcome. This is twas the week before Christmas. We are just 7 days away from the start of the 2026 Formula One season. Everybody was dreading this weekend because there is not a great deal to talk about. Although actually we do have a couple of things to talk about to pick up on. We are just going to go through what we think is going to happen. A, for Australia, B, for the rest of the 2026 season, and then we'll review this at one day in the future and just see just how wrong we were. But let's get straight into it then. Talking, who are you excited for? Who do you genuinely think this is going to be a good season for? Other than, and I think I know what your answer is going to be, and I think with justifiable cause.
You know what? I'm dreading the Ferrari thing because the more I think about it, the more I look at it, the more I think Ferrari are closer to the true pace. If that makes sense.
So you think they've got nothing else, effectively?
I think they might have something else in the locker. I just think, barring qualifying 22nd and being first by the first corner, I'm not sure they've got much else to give. Now, I could be wrong, all right? This is all going off what I believe. I do think Mercedes stand a great chance, so I'm excited to watch Antonelli this year.
What about the other one?
I was going to say George, was that? But
I think you're right. I actually think
George Russell.
I actually think you're right. I think as we start this season, I think you're right. I do think that this is going to be a good season for Mercedes. I really do. I think they've started off well. The power unit looks good. They seem to have got a good grip on the new regulations without doing anything mental. Like we've seen that Ferrari are the ones who have done some crazy stuff with the rear wing. We've seen that Audi have done some new stuff with the new front wing and what have you. I say new stuff. It's all going to be new stuff for Audi, but you know what I mean. And obviously we know Aston Martin struggles. So I do. I think I make you right. I think Mercedes are probably the team to watch. Does that then? Weirdly enough, I don't think they're the team to watch in Australia.
I think Ferrari are going to come out quick.
Yeah, I don't predict a George Russell win in Australia, but I do predict that Russell will be, and this will be the season you particularly, but we've been a little bit, not critical is maybe a strong word, but we've been very, I'd say, underwhelmed by the fact that Russell has never really been able to string through like a good run of results. It's always just sort of been a win here and there and whatever. So I think this is a season now where we genuinely see if George Russell's actually made of the stuff to go and win a world championship.
Does he have the testicular fortitude to win the Drivers' Championship?
Yeah,
I mean, you know what? As a Brit, I hope so. You know, as much as I've joked and I've said, where is he? And he is the most annoying character on the grid because he pops up and just appears. But yeah, let's have another Brit. You know,
yeah. In his defence, sorry. One thing I will say, in his defence, I think I think this might probably be the first time he has been given a car that can win a world championship. Now, in the past, he was Hamilton's teammate and what have you, and Hamilton obviously didn't win a world championship whilst Russell was there. So that Mercedes, you would argue, was not good enough to win a world championship. Last season, they were good enough to win the odd race, but they weren't good enough to mount a challenge. I would say Red Bull weren't good enough to mount a challenge, but obviously they have Max Verstappen. That McLaren last season was miles away. Based on what we've seen so far in testing and in shakedown and what have you, it does actually look for the first time, in his defence, that I think George Russell's got a car. So we think Mercedes will do well. We'll go back to... We'll give some very bold predictions at the very end of the episode, but we think Mercedes are going to start well. And we think Ferrari will start well too at Melbourne.
And Max will start well.
Yeah. I mean, Max could be in a bin and he'd start well, I think.
Yeah, true.
What about, very quickly then, because we've covered the rest of the top four, what about, in your mind, McLaren?
I think it's difficult, this one. They could come up with a rocket ship, or they could...
Yeah. I don't think we've seen what Mercedes have got. Maybe not all of it. I agree with you. I think we've seen everything that Ferrari have got. I think we've seen majority of what Red Bull have got, and I hope, as a McLaren fan, we've not seen half of what McLaren have got because we haven't seen anything from them. So I hope, as a McLaren fan, if what we've seen is to be believed that is all they've got, then, I mean, certainly for Australia, it isn't going to be a happy homecoming for a one Mr. Piastri.
Well, the funny thing is, there's the Melbourne curse, isn't there, of whoever won the race last year doesn't finish this one. So that's Lando out the window. But no, it's a weird one because McLaren will either turn up near the front because they've got that Mercedes rocket ship power in them, which they've apparently found 20 horsepower this week through the fuel that's finally been homologated. So McLaren will turn up at the front, or they've run the risk of being Ferrari last year, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think they will. I don't think anyone can be that bad. Maybe Aston Martin. But I think they just look. They look like they flattered to impress. Yeah. Oh, sorry, they failed to impress, kind of thing.
The one thing I will say that gives me confidence with McLaren is if they do start badly, we know from previous that you go back to 2023. We know from previous that when that McLaren is in a bad position, it doesn't take Andrea Stella and his cronies long to figure it out. So I'm not worried for McLaren over the course of the season. I just genuinely, I don't think it'll be the greatest start. I'm with you on that. Okay, then we've discovered the top four. Who is in trouble? And we know the obvious answer, but how big trouble do you think they're in?
Massive. I mean,
we're referring to Aston Martin. Sorry for it.
We're talking about the wheelie bins.
In case that wasn't obvious,
we're talking about the wheelie bins that we accused them of last year, and lo and behold, well, it looks like they're fulfilling the promise. Do you know Honda have come out and blamed Adrian Newey?
Do you know Honda did this with McLaren? Though, if you remember, there was a lot of blame placed on Eric Boulier's door. If you remember, going back to those days, there was a lot of blame placed on basically everybody else's door except Honda's. And I have read this that they've blamed Newey. I mean, you're not going to make friends in Formula One by blaming Adrian Newey for anything, are you? To be fair.
No, but I mean, you can see where they're coming from. If they want the different engine mounting spots because the chassis suddenly changes because Newey's involved. If they want a different layout, if they want different battery modes, everything that was agreed before, Adrian Newey's come in and apparently ripped it up and gone, I don't want that. Now, if that's the case, then they're on the back foot anyway, but you've got to believe Newey knows what he's doing, and Honda, as a provider, should provide. At the moment, what they've done is taken the engine out of a Honda Civic, possibly a hybrid model, and made it worse.
Made
it worse. So they're in massive trouble. If it weren't for the commercial backing and the fact they've got sponsors knocking on the door, I wouldn't go to the first two races. I'd be spending my time
trying to figure it out. But then you've got race data, haven't you? I know what you mean. I get what you mean, but there's nothing as important as race data. All right, two questions then to follow that up. One is, do you see Aston Martin quickly turning this round?
I believe they will, just because of Adrian Newey.
Yeah. And two, who else do you think then will struggle? I suppose it's a relative question. Struggle means that you do worse than you did last season. And I would say, when we sort of bring up Audi, I don't think Audi will struggle. We've said this before. I don't think, from what I've seen about Audi, I don't think they'll struggle. I think this will just be a very experimental year for Audi, where we might see them come with maybe not as extreme as 6 wheels, but as we've seen in the past. But
I think you could say the same about Cadillac, though, because they didn't once go for a glory run. Now, if they're biding their time, and they'll expect to be 21st and 22nd on the grid. I don't think they're going to care. I think they've got their head screwed on. There's one team, and I hate saying this, and I don't know if you'll agree, that are going to do worse than last year, and it's Williams.
Yeah.
Currently, it's Williams, because the Haas looks decent. The Alpine, in Gasly's hands anyway, rather than one of the Crash twins, looks decent.
Yeah.
And the Racing Bull, you're not going to rule them out because that power unit looks incredible.
It does.
There's 3 teams that they jumped last year.
And that's why I still think Racing Bulls, Alpine is one to watch, Haas is one to watch, but I still think Racing Bulls will be, if we're saying the top 4, will be the top 4 again. And I think it will take somebody to go really downhill. McLaren to have just not developed anything, or Ferrari to have got it all wrong. I think that top four will be that top
Watch
four.
this space. Watch this space. If anyone can, we will throw it away.
But I still think Racing Bulls will be what you'd consider fifth. And you're right. Within that, I'm maybe saying maybe it won't be them. Maybe it'll be Alpine, like you said, or Haas or something like that. But the bottom line is, I do not anticipate for one iota that it will be Williams at the minute. I honestly see. You just said Cadillac will be expecting to be 21st and 22nd. I think from what they will have seen from
barring after Martin, maybe.
Yeah, and barring Williams, I genuinely think that Williams, supposedly it's overweight. Supposedly they cannot get the power unit to work with what they're trying to do. Supposedly, I've read this week that they're having fuel issues, which means that they might have to overfuel. Every team will underfuel. We know this in Formula One. So every team will underfuel, and they'll hope that there's a safety car, some management. I read this week that it's a rumor, so I don't give it any credit, but if there's a possibility that Williams will have to overfuel, you add that to the weight that they're already overweight, and
that's a lot of time you lose on the straight. It's a lot of time you lose on the straight.
Yeah.
Anyway, before we do our predictions and we go into Ant versus Phil, we've judged very loosely the grid. I'm not going to go into putting names in every position because we'll be wrong. Is Drive to Survive boring you?
Yes. Do you know how many episodes I've watched? Half.
You know, I've battled through 2, and I'm beginning to. I said this to Laura whilst we were watching it. It's lost its relevance now. It was to draw new fans. No, it's either drawing the new fans or it's the same people watching it. You're not going to sit down and go, "Oh, season 8, I'll watch the last 7." I feel like it's gone wrong, and with Apple coming in now and this massive sponsorship deal, especially in the US. I know Netflix are showing the Canadian, aren't they? Canadian Grand Prix in America. But I just feel like it's losing its relevance. I mean, they're struggling for guests. Will Buxton, I love him to bits, but my God.
Captain Obvious. The one thing with Drive to Survive as well, which has really surprised me, is I genuinely thought Drive to Survive has always been released the week before, obviously, the Formula 1 season. So it's always given you something to watch that week, to a build-up, and you start to get excited and whatever else. I don't know, and you consider as well, last season's Drive to Survive, everybody will know, me personally, I should have watched it 3 times full by now.
Yeah.
But I can't bring myself to do it, and I don't know what it is. And I don't know, maybe it's because we're excited by the sport anyway.
Yeah.
So it doesn't need Netflixing to make it exciting for us. We're already excited, and Shakedown has done what Drive to Survive is trying to do, and Testing has done what Drive to Survive is trying, and View from Luffield has done what Drive to Survive is trying to do.
Of course, and it's the caliber of guests, isn't it? Matt and Tommy or Phil and Anne. Now, they've made the wrong choice there. And,
if we ever get called up for Drive to Survive to have a clip on it, we watch our opinion change. But you're right. I don't know what it is. I can't quite put my finger on. Maybe it's because this season there's so many regulation changes that it doesn't need a Drive to Survive. Maybe because the 2 seasons literally is almost like comparing apples and oranges. This is a completely different sport in a sense this season, so it isn't really. I don't know, but you're right. I would have normally by now watched every single episode. So. Quick one then, back to everybody, all the millions of people who we hope are going to watch this video. Let us know in the comments what your opinion is. Drive to Survive relevant? Have you watched it? Have you blitzed it? Have you, like me, gone with the best intentions of watching it but lasted half an episode and really turned your attention to something else? I don't know. But the bottom line is, for whatever reason, you have 2 huge Formula 1 fans here, and it's not piqued either of our interests. At all. So, I don't know.
But, like you say, I don't know if it's the pull of this season. This season coming promises a little asterisk there.
Yeah.
We'll call this season. We'll call this back up later in the season when it's been dull as dishwater. It promises to be massive, though, like huge and exciting. And everyone, of course, the richest 4 teams are at the front. It kind of makes sense. They've got the resource and everything. And even if you're hamstrung by wind tunnel time, the best tools and the most money will always, barring Ferrari, will always get you up to the front.
Maybe we don't need Drive to Survive anymore. Maybe.
No,
I don't know.
No, just watch VFL.
Yeah, quite, exactly. We will do the job, and it's not 8-hour-long episodes. It's just 15 minutes every week, or somewhere in that region. Okay, let's go for it then. Let's make some bold predictions. Who, Philip, is going to win the Drivers' World Championship in 2026? I'm going to put you right on the spot.
I'm going to go out on a limb, and I hate doing this, but I'm going to do it. Ready? Charles Leclerc.
Oh, by the way, before we carry on, congratulations to Charles Leclerc and his wife, who I can never pronounce her name properly. I am very, very sorry. Yes, it is. No, not that bit. I can pronounce Alexandra.
Leclerc.
Well played. Very well played.
Thank you.
Sorry. Yeah. So congratulations to Mr. and Mrs. Leclerc. Sorry, I meant to start with that. Yeah. Congratulations to Mr. and Mrs. Leclerc. We will see no doubt more of her throughout the rest of the season because for some reason we always see her at every race. So congratulations to them. So you're going to go for Leclerc. You're going to go bold.
You know what? I think this is. They might be showing the true pace, but the true pace is good enough to battle with the big guns finally. I just believe it's his time. I think he'll want to put Hamilton to bed. And don't get me wrong, I'm looking forward to Lewis being in a car he trusts, which he looks like he does. But I think Charles, he deserves one. Let's be honest, he deserves a championship. So let's put my red hat on. Let's be completely biased. Let's have everyone laughing at me in 10 months' time when we replay this video, but Charles Leclerc is going to be the champion this year.
I'm going to go with George Russell. I do genuinely think that George Russell might win this World Championship. I think it will take a lot for others to catch up to where Mercedes already are. And I think slowly, year by year, I think he's starting to show a little bit more of an edge. And I think this is similar to McLaren last season. I said to you at the start of last season, I felt that Norris or Piastri had to win last season because that chance might not come back again with the new regs and whatever. I feel like this is the same for George Russell this year, and lo and behold, Lando won it last year. I think George Russell, I do think he's good enough, so I think George Russell. So we're both going for a new world champion. Who then wins the Constructors?
Mercedes.
This is gonna sound weird. I'm gonna say 3 in a row.
McLaren.
Yeah, do you know why? Because I think if that car is decent enough, and they've got their head around the reliability issues, which I think everybody has, but I think later on in the season, McLaren might do a couple of tweaks, which gets them a couple of wins. I think it might be too late for them to compete for the drivers, but they've got the best driver lineup in my eyes. I don't think Mercedes will, because I think Antonelli, he's been impressive in testing, but I think McLaren. I'm going to go 3 in a row. So neither of us have gone for a driver and team to both win the championship.
No. Who's winning in Melbourne?
Yeah, so then, in that case, before we do this, because this will obviously be the long-awaited return of Ant versus Phil. Am I going first? As the loser from last year, I'm donning the moustache which I had to don at the back end of last year, calendar year, of course. Who's going to win? Who is going to win? Who is going to win? Who's going to win? Don't know. I've no idea. Lewis. I'm going to go Lewis.
Wow. Max.
Yeah, well, so neither of us think our pick for world champion's going to win.
No, I don't know. It's a weird one. Australia is always a weird track anyway. So,
Although last season, the winner of the race, obviously, of course, went on to win the world championship.
We don't have a punishment yet for Ant versus Phil. I know I've offered to wear a George Russell cap for a few
episodes. That's not Ant versus Phil, though.
That's not Ant versus Phil. Put a comment in, everyone, as to what you think we should do. We're not going to pick anything stupid. No one wants public nudity on VFL. But the best one we might go for. One thing I do want to say before we wrap up is thoughts go out to everyone who's in Bahrain at the moment who are very close to what's going on, the Pirelli staff and everything, because they cancelled the test. Obviously, thoughts go out to everyone impacted by everything going on, but especially the people who are out there to do a job who've been caught up in it. We hope everyone's safe, and we hope the nonsense ends at some point. But
hopefully,
there we go.
So on that note, and very well said, Phil. Yeah, thoughts do go out to everybody caused, inconvenienced by the conflict. Let's put it that way. Over there. So anyway, that is it for us this week. It's only a very, very quick one. Phil is going with Max Verstappen to win. I'm going with Lewis Hamilton.
I hope you're right.
So here we go. VFL, we start again next week. Australia, and Phil is in. The predictions for the rest of the season are in. We will revisit this at some point, but Until next week, set your alarms, ladies and gentlemen, 4 o'clock UK time, whatever time it is in whatever part of the country you are watching, particular part of the world you are watching us from. We will be back next week. Bring on F1.